My name's Danielle, and I've been the victim of an internet scam. Hi, and welcome to day 4 of the 12 Days of Coachmas. So happy to have you here. So excited to get into today's video. This was something that I asked on Reddit like probably 6 months ago now, whether or not people would want to hear my scam story, how I got scammed. And quite frankly, I just never got around to filming it because I get really nervous when I have to sit in front of the camera and talk without a script to read, let's be honest. So we're going to try our best. This is probably going to be a long, rambly, ranty video. So I recommend watching this while you're doing something else because it's probably going to be pretty boring to just stare at me for the next 20 minutes. Anyway, I digress. Let's go ahead and get into it. Please give this video a thumbs up if you're enjoying the series. Subscribe to the channel if you're not already. We still got 8 more days until the end of Coachmas. Shout out to our channel VIP members before we get started, as well as Harrison, Suzanne, Tom, and Zurify in the billionaire tier. Thank you so much for being here. Let's go ahead and jump right in. Okay, so some of you know bits and pieces of this story. I have never sat down and given it from start to finish. I have a few notes here on my iPad just to make sure that I hopefully don't miss anything. Also, my neighbors are currently doing construction, so if you hear, that's what's going on, okay? Okay, so picture this. The year is 2016. Danielle, me, hi. I get my first real big girl job. I used to work in municipal government. I was an administrator, specifically in wastewater treatment. Basically, my university degree is in environmental studies, and so the goal was enter the city as an administrator, move into a outside workers job. I wanted to be collecting water samples, analyzing them in the lab, doing all this kind of hands-on science stuff. Anyway, to keep a long story short, I found myself about a year into that job feeling really bored. I kept applying for other opportunities outside of my job, but if anyone is familiar with how government works, specifically in Canada, most government jobs are unionized, and in municipal government, you actually have 2 unions. You have the union for the workers that work inside, and then the union for the workers that work outside. And so in order for an inside worker to apply to an outside worker's job, you basically have to apply as an external candidate. So then you're competing with this pool of candidates that don't already work for the city. And anyway, I kept getting passed up for multiple opportunities that I was interested in. Finally, they offered me a management position, but it would have been pretty much solely focused on policy writing, which sounds horribly boring, even more boring than the job I had. So that wasn't the right fit for me. I knew that I had to kind of find my way out of that job. And so by then, this would have been 2017. I had been there for a year. I was starting to feel really restless, like any good personal development junkie. Started listening to podcasts every day on my way to and from work. My commute was about 30 minutes each way, so I'd be listening to podcasts every lunch period. I would leave the office, either sit in my car or go down near the water. There was a lakefront at the city that I worked in, and I would just walk around and listen to podcasts, read self-help books, that kind of thing. This was right around the time that Jenna Kutcher launched the Gold Digger podcast, and I was her biggest #1 fan. Listened to every single episode for probably the first 100 episodes she released. And so all that to say, I was drinking the self-help Kool-Aid at this point. So in 2017, that same year after I started the job, I decided then to launch my own podcast. It was called Adulting 101, and I was basically giving life advice to other millennials who were trying to navigate the world of adulthood. So whether they were also feeling stuck in their careers or they were navigating different relationships, I was just kind of sharing my experience, sharing life advice, that kind of thing. And so at that time, I was also joining all of these Facebook groups, whether it be in self-help or blogging or how to grow a podcast, that kind of thing. And I was really first exposed around that time. So let's say early to late 2017 to all of these people who were claiming that they, worked these miserable jobs. They were able to quit. They were able to make a full-time income online. And I thought, oh, wow, that's pretty cool, but I could never. I'm just here working my 9 to 5, gonna climb that corporate ladder, right? Plus I had a pension, benefits, all those things that everyone wants. And so anyways, all this is happening. I'm working my job. I have my podcast just kind of as a hobby. I have a blog that goes along with that podcast. And then a few things start happening in tandem. So I'm at my 9 to 5 job. The town that I'm living in starts to offer this competition where they're we will pay your rent for a year in a downtown space, because there was a lot of vacant storefronts at that time, for a business for an entire year. They'll pay your rent. So I I thought to myself, you know what, like, I don't really like my job. And sorry, this was 2018, February of 2018. I'm like, I don't really like my job. I'm not happy here. I'm seeing all these people online doing all these cool things. I'm really into yoga at this time. Maybe I will just like put together a pitch for a yoga business, see where it goes. So I don't really think much of it. I'm doing that. I'm hosting my podcast. At this point, I think is when I also decided to do my NLP certification online. And then I also did my online life coaching certification through Udemy. A couple weeks go by, I hear back. Danielle, you made it into the like top 3 contenders for this competition. And at this point, again, I'm still in my 9-to-5 job. I've been there for like a little over 2 years at this point. And I'm like, I don't know if I could be a business owner. That seems kind of far-fetched, but whatever. Again, I'm just going to kind of roll with it, see what happens. So we had to do this like weekly course where we learned how to write a business plan, how to do all these business related things. And at the end, they made us enter this competition. It was like Dragon's Den, or for those of you in the States, like Shark Tank style pitch. So they had like a panel of judges and we had to put together a slide deck and give our presentation. And anyway, all that to say, at the end of this thing, I didn't end up winning the money or the free rent. So I kind of thought to myself, like, I don't really have a ton of savings, enough overhead to like legitimately take on the risk of renting a physical space for a yoga studio, but I'm also really unhappy at my job. And all these people on the internet are telling me that it's super easy to just like quit and make 6 figures. And at this point, again, I'm desperate. I'm hating my job. I'm so miserable. Every day I'm driving to work being like, what the hell is the point of this? Am I going to have to do this for the next 30 years? I look at the people around me who are working there. They're all miserable. I'm like, I don't want to be like these people when I'm in my 50s or 60s. Like, this is awful. And I'm drinking the Kool-Aid. Again, I'm listening to the podcast, I'm reading the books, I'm in these Facebook groups, I'm seeing all these success stories, and I think if they can do it, why can't I? How many times have we been told this?
Oh my God, I just want to show you that if I can do it, you can do it too.
I believed it. I believe that, which to a degree, I do believe is true. Like, yes, you have to go after the things you want, but when they're using it to sell you something, ugh, different story. Anyway, I'm kind of on a tangent here. I don't know the exact timeline, but I believe at this point, I had already lost the competition and I had decided that I was going to open the business anyway, but just do it as like a mobile service. So rather than have like a physical yoga studio, the town that I was living in, for those of you that are familiar with Ontario geography, I'm from Muskoka, so it's very like summer destination for wealthy people from the city. So we call it like the Hamptons of the North. Basically, a lot of wealthy people from Toronto have their like vacation homes in that region. So my kind of idea was that I would target these cottagers and offer them mobile yoga services. So I would come to their cottage, I would give them private classes, that kind of thing. So my birthday that year would have been, my birthday's always in April. And I specifically remember being on like a bus with my partner at the time. And we were on like a brewery tour. So I had had a few drinks by that point. Obviously, this was before I gave up alcohol. And on that bus, I decided I'm going to go forward with this business. I'm going to quit my job. I'm going to figure it out. So I actually remember booking my flight to Portugal, which is where I did my yoga teacher training, while I was on that bus. So I booked the flights. I decide that day I'm going to quit my job next week when I go to work. I'm going to tell them that I'm leaving in a month. Competition happens in February. I lose by March. April, I decide I'm going to do it anyway. Quit my job. May rolls around. I meet this woman through these Facebook groups that I'm in. We get on a sales call. At this point, I had already decided like the name for my business, all of that, because that was part of the like pitch that I made for the competition. And I was basically using that business plan, just tweaking it so that I could offer a mobile service. So I remember being on the sales call with this woman, and she is launching a like 12-person, I don't remember, maybe like 2-month group coaching program for people who are starting their businesses, just in general. And I specifically remember her being very aggressive on the call. I didn't know the price of the program till I got on. And this is one that I've mentioned in many of my videos. So she ends up telling me at some point on the call that the program's going to be $6,500 US, which I'll pop the Canadian conversion up on the screen here. I'll try to find it specifically for like May of 2018. And I specifically remember on the call her aggressively telling me that I was not going to be successful if I operated a business that wasn't under my name. So for context, my yoga studio was called Lifestyle by Design because I wasn't just doing yoga, I was also doing the life coaching stuff. So I wanted it to be like about creating a life that you love. And so basically she was like, you need to ditch that. You're not going to be successful. You're only going to be successful if you create a personal brand under your personal name, which Okay, to a degree, I understand, especially in the coaching space, like it does make a lot more sense to be like Danielle Ryan, the life coach, versus operating under a business name. But on that call, I specifically remember feeling like she wasn't listening to me. Like I was trying to explain my vision, my dream for this business, and already this woman was like telling me what I was doing wrong and basically telling me I needed to copy whatever she said. So bad vibes. She tells me the price. I'm like, holy shit, this is so expensive. I end up getting off the call and her VA follows up with me like every single day for a week straight. And then finally I'm just like, you know what? I've thought about it. I'm not interested. I'm not going to buy into this program. So time goes on. I'm still working. I gave my job a month's notice. So I quit at the beginning of May, but I was working there till June. And I'm still in all these Facebook groups. I start getting ads for this one particular woman who was based in Southern Ontario, so fairly close to where I was, which I thought was interesting because up until this point, every other coach that I had sort of interacted with online was based out of the US. So I thought like, that's kind of cool. But her specific brand is very focused on like the airy fairy manifestation. I can imagine my way to 10K kind of thing. And it just like didn't totally resonate with me, but she happened to have a friend who was also a life coach or mindset coach, and the two of them plus a third friend of theirs would host these like in-person single day retreats. And so the friend of hers who was a mindset coach, I started looking at her content, and it was really funny to me because this particular individual, the friend, let's just call her Sarah, she had a story that was eerily similar to mine. So for a little bit more context, when I left my job, I got myself a part-time job at a private golf club that I worked at all throughout university. So my thought was kind of, I'm going to quit my full-time income, go to Portugal for the month of June. When I come back in July, it'll be peak summer. I can work at the golf course until October, part-time hours. That way I can build my business, but also still have a consistent stream of income. And so this particular woman, Sarah, that I found, she had a story where 2 years prior to me, so 2016, she had quit her full-time job and gotten a job at a golf course, a private golf course, you know, working the bev cart. And she was able to build this six-figure business following this process. And mind you, I had already made my plan before I discovered this woman. So I was like, holy shit, the universe sent this woman to me because she has the exact same story as me, or so it felt. If she can be successful, then obviously I can be successful. Again, if they can do it, I can do it too. So I end up joining her Facebook group, watching all her webinars, everything engaging. She's super sweet, super nice. And I decide like, I want to work with this woman. So I reach out to her. We get on a sales call. I can still like picture myself on this sales call. I'm down at the waterfront, still finishing out my 9-to-5 job. We're on the phone. I'm telling her I'm leaving in 2 weeks. I am so excited. I want to work with you. She tells me I have a few different packages and I can send you over the details. So I actually went through my emails and I found a copy of that. So I'm going to pop up on the screen somewhere the different packages that were available at that time, different price points, etc. So I end up going with the $4,500 option, and you can see here on the screen what's included. And I literally am like, send me the PayPal link. I will pay right this second. So that would have been in May. I literally wire transferred her $4,500 from my line of credit that day. And we weren't actually going to start like actively coaching until July when I got back from Portugal, but we were kind of like in touch through email in that time. If I still have it, I'll have to check after I'm done here. If I still have it, I am going to show you guys. I'll do like a screen recording on my laptop and a voiceover in editing. The PDF that I was sent when I paid the money. Okay, so for starters, I was sent this coaching welcome pack, and it basically had like a little welcome note from the coach and then a questionnaire for her to get to know me and my business a little bit better. So I'll pop little screenshots of the questions, but generally speaking, it's about like describing your life situation, what kind of business I want to create, what my niche is. Very basic questions overall about myself, my business, my intention, etc. Okay, and I did just want to highlight my particular answers to this specific question because I think it really demonstrates how little I truly understood about what actual coaching is and how my perception of coaching back 6 years ago now almost 7 years ago, was that a coach was supposed to tell you what to do, because that's how all of these women, especially at that time, and especially in the coaches coaching coaches sort of niche, they tell you, I have this formula, I have this system, I'm going to teach you what I did so that you can replicate it. And so basically this question is asking, what do you want from me as your coach throughout the 3 months together? And I made this list of 5 things. The first one being all the secrets on how you built your business. LOL JK, but I wasn't joking. Second, I want direction on where best to invest my time and energy. Third, I want insight on what worked and didn't work for you. Fourth, I want feedback on what I'm doing and where I can improve. And 5, whatever the heck you deem fit. So to me, as I'm reading these answers, I am seeking my coach's guidance and instruction through building my business. And I just think that if this person was truly a coach and truly understood what coaching is at its core, they would have said to me, that's outside my scope. That's not what I actually do. I'm not here to teach you how to do anything. Maybe you should hire a business consultant. But alas, it's like the blind leading the blind. And I think that's kind of what led to everything that happened hereafter. Now, in addition to that, she also sent me these other resources, which you can see in the screen recording here. Basically, different exercises, again, to embody that feeling. So I feel the most successful when, this is what my perfect workspace looks like, my beauty routine, all of these things were really, I think, just to, again, try and really play on the mindset piece, on embodying the person you want to become, and basically create this false illusion, in my opinion, that that's going to be the secret to my success. She also sent me this morning routine guide. And so basically it was like things I should do every day in the morning. So write down 10 things that my ideal morning would consist of, choose the top 5 and commit to doing them, and then make them non-negotiable. So very, very basic. The colors alone hurt my eyeballs now, but I digress. This was very clearly thrown together in Canva and is nothing super revolutionary, considering the fact that I spent $5,000. Okay, so there's also affirmations and then a list of the like 5 must-read books, which a quick little Google will show you just what these books are about. And yeah, yikes. I don't know. All of this info, looking back now, I haven't looked at this in years, but it seems like things that I probably could have just Googled at that time if I tried a little harder. It's just so crazy to me to think like, and this isn't a dig at this specific coach because I think it's like the industry as a whole kind of perpetuates this. It's so interesting to me to see how low effort this kind of content is for the prices that these people are charging. Basically, it was supposed to be, and you guys will know by now, I don't have it right in front of me, so I'm not sure. It was either like a 6 or an 8-week program, and we were supposed to have calls every single week. So July comes along, I have my yoga teacher certification, I'm opening the yoga business, and this woman is so freaking flaky. I don't know about you guys if you run a business or you have one, especially if it's like client facing where you have to work with clients. But the way I operate is like, I have a calendar link. People can book into my calendar on their own schedule. We make a plan like, okay, like maybe we'll meet in 2 weeks. Then we book it out in 2 weeks. This woman did not have any kind of system. It was just like, oh, when are you free? 6 p.m. Okay. Like, I think I have an email of that too. I'll pop it on the screen of us just being like, well, I would like 6 p.m., but if you're not available, I'll do this time. Like, just send me a calendar link so I can book. It would be basically me chasing her down every other week, trying to figure out when we can coordinate a time to talk. And so keep in mind, whatever the email said, it was supposed to be 6 or 8 weeks. So if we started in July, we should have been done by September. This program ended up dragging on until October because of the fact that she was so flaky in setting up calls that we would go like weeks without talking. So that's already red flag number 1. Red flag number 2 is, as you would have seen in that original email, she was also running a mastermind at that time. And I did not opt in to be a part of the mastermind. However, I think what happened was she had so few people sign up that she started taking all of her one-on-one clients and offering them a spot in the mastermind just to fill the extra spaces. So I ended up also being in this mastermind group where we would have like a monthly group call, I believe, and we had like a private Facebook group where we could all talk to each other. And so all that to say, generally speaking, the coaching that I received during that time, and I've shared this on the channel many times, was really nothing more than write in your journal what it would feel like to have a successful business. I specifically remember an exercise where she would make me like write out a list of all of the things that I wanted to have when my business was successful, but write them as if I had them. So like, I am driving this car and I am living in this house and I am making this much money. And so a lot of exercises like that, like the manifestation, really embodying the person you want to become. That was basically the extent of the coaching beyond. And again, this is where it gets kind of confusing of like, what is coaching? What is consulting? And me not really understanding the difference. But because of her approach to the relationship, I didn't really know that what she was doing wasn't coaching. But she would give me advice on like how to advertise my business. She would tell me to put $5 behind a Facebook ad and boost my posts on Instagram, which like now having been in business for so long, that's literally just a waste of money. But anyway, all that to say, for the $4,500 I paid, she was basically giving me regurgitated fluff that she learned from her coaches, as well as just very low effort. She didn't give a shit, was basically the feeling I got. I specifically remember as well, because we both lived in Ontario, when I signed up, and for some reason this was like so important to me and really pissed me off that it never happened. But when I signed up, she had said that in our contract, part of the deal was that we would meet up and get to have like an in-person lunch together. We would do coaching and we would get to meet in person. And for me, that was like a big draw, again, because all the other coaches were in the US. I was so excited to find someone like sort of local to me. And again, because she was so fucking flaky, we never met up and we never had lunch. And I just remember being like so resentful about that after all of this had went down, that I just like couldn't let that go. So we start in July, it goes on. She's also pregnant at this time, and I believe her due date was like late October. So we finally have our last coaching call in October. Shortly after that, she emails me. I'll pop the email up on the screen here. And I believe in that email, she is basically asking like whether or not I want to sign on for more coaching, how much she loved working with me, and da-da-da-da-da. And keep in mind at this point, I'm already like, I didn't really feel like I got what I paid for out of this opportunity. So I basically just turned her down and was like, no, I'm not really interested at this time. Okay, I'm freaking cackling editing this video because I'm reading this email from me to her. And in it, not only do I say like, I'm going to put our coaching on hold for now, I also bring up the lunch. I'm telling you guys, I was so upset about this. I wrote, I believe we also had a lunch date, if that's still a thing. When is your due date? Because again, she was expected to be giving birth within a couple weeks. I'm coming down to Waterloo at the end of the month for a conference, and I could swing over to Guelph if that works, because she was in the Guelph area. Anyway, I thought this was so funny because I was so upset about this that it was in the contract and it never freaking happened. I want my lunch. That's it. That's the end of our relationship. She doesn't send me a offboarding survey. She doesn't ask me about my experience, ask for any feedback. She literally just falls off the face of the earth, has her baby, doesn't show up on social media until about January of the following year, so 2019. All of a sudden, she starts becoming active on social media again. She's posting and she messages me, hey girl, just wanted to check in and see if you're interested in signing up for more coaching. At this point, I am so bitter and turned off by the whole experience. I'm just like, absolutely not. I'm not interested. No, thank you. Have fun. And it's actually funny because everyone else that was in the mastermind with me didn't sign up again, except for one particular woman who stayed on coaching with her for more and more months. And I still to this day wonder, like, what did that woman see in this coaching that I did not see? Because to me, it was just fluffy air, waste of money that I could have got from continuing to listen to the podcast and read the books that I was already reading. Anyway, I digress. So flash forward. At that point, I'm again bitter, burned from this relationship. I'm just doing my own thing, building my yoga business, promoting my own coaching. I think I maybe at that point worked with like 3 or 4 coaching clients. Most of my money was coming from my yoga business. So then moving forward to May of 2019, so this would have been about 6 months after I finished my first coaching program, one of the women who was in the initial mastermind with me reached out and just wanted to see how I was doing. We had kind of like stayed in touch through social media during this time. And she was telling me about this new program she had joined. So mind you, her and I had already like kikied over the fact that Sarah had wasted all of our money and that we didn't get what we thought we were paying for and that it wasn't really a productive relationship. So she knew how I felt about that. She felt the same way. And so that's why she reached out to me about this mastermind, because she was like, Danielle, I found someone who actually knows what they're talking about. And I think that you should come and join us because the community is great. We're learning lots. We're having a good time. And it's been like actually productive for me and my business. And so I end up joining this program. It's $197 US per month. So at that point, let's just say it was like $250 Canadian, which comparatively to the original $6,000 I was pitched, then $4,500, now $250 a month, cancel at any time. So lower barrier to entry and less risky because I could just leave if I didn't like it. And I will say this particular coach, while they called themselves a coach, that's probably not the appropriate title. For the $250, you were also given access to, so we had the same as always, like we had a Slack channel, a Facebook group, but we also had it would have been Teachable or Kajabi or whatever, an entire resource library of like extensive resources. She covered everything from like a 30-day launch program, how to build your offer, all of this like really in-depth training, which alone for $200 for 1 month, I think would have been worth it for the amount that I learned just from the resources. We also got one-on-one call with the coach each month. So again, all that to say, I think for the price tag and for the level of support that was available, because she had just launched this program, she didn't have like hundreds of students. I think there was maybe 20 of us in the program. It was actually a pretty positive experience for the most part, especially in the beginning. So the premise of the membership was to teach people how to build their income through a high ticket membership program. So the irony is not lost on me that I joined this membership to learn how to make my own membership, but isn't that how all these programs go? Let's be honest. So basically at this point, my idea was that I was going to launch an online membership that encompassed life coaching and it encompassed yoga. So it was kind of like bringing together the two things that my business was about. Now, the thing was that to me, I thought a membership like that should be accessible to people. So I think originally I wanted to charge like $47 a month for people to get access to weekly yoga classes that were going to be live streamed, and then all of these resources. So similar to her model where she had all these like marketing resources available to us, I was going to have all these like mindset resources available to people. Now, the issue that I ran into was that following her model, she was very adamant that the minimum price you should be charging for your membership was $97 a month. Now, I knew that the target that I wanted, which was people who were just working regular jobs that just wanted a way to like relax and decompress, those people weren't going to spend $100 a month on an online membership. And so I thought like $47 a month was a little bit more reasonable of a price point. And so there was a little bit of friction between us in that the thing I wanted didn't really align with her mindset, because again, she was trying to teach us how to make like a full-time income off these membership programs. And obviously, if I'm only charging $47 a month, I'm going to need a lot larger audience to pull from in order to be able to reach a level of income that is sustainable, assuming that that's my only source of income, which it wasn't. And so anyway, we kind of go back and forth for a bit. And this is the point where this particular coach, which is again, a story I've told on this channel many times, this particular coach tells me, Danielle, if you want to have a like premium membership, she would call it, where people will be willing to pay you $97 or $197 a month, you shouldn't be targeting regular people with 9-to-5s. You should be targeting women who want to leave their 9-to-5s and open a yoga business, aka do exactly what you've done. And it was at that moment that I was like, wait a minute, this doesn't make any sense, because at that point I had the life coaching, I had the yoga business, but I was also teaching English online to children in China as a means of supplementing my income, because I had only been in business for about a year at this point. And I would say my yoga business specifically was bringing in about $20K of my income. And so I had kind of said to her, like, well, I don't make my full-time income specifically from my yoga business. I have, like multiple sort of sources of income, side hustles that I'm doing in order to pay the bills. And she just kind of brushed that off and was like, well, people with 9-to-5s aren't going to be interested in like a mindset membership. People are interested in learning how to build their yoga business. So if you want to be successful, you need to make your membership targeted at yoga teachers that want to go full time. And so I didn't want to do that. I was like, I'm not lying on the internet telling people I'm doing something I'm not doing. And so basically it was just kind of this like point of friction where I continued on doing this mindset coaching yoga membership. She wanted me to do the coaching yoga teachers membership. And so I wasn't really getting the results because the membership was so cheap. I think I had like 5 people in it. So I was making like $250 a month. And she wanted me to be doing this thing that was going to make me more money. So eventually October, I think, rolled around. I remember it was when I was in Florida. I went to Disney in 2019. And it was on that trip that I ended up breaking off the relationship. So I basically just told her, like, I don't think this is a right fit. We obviously don't see eye to eye, and I'm not really maximizing your skill set or your expertise to help me because I'm not really going to create a membership that would be like in your area of expertise. So all that to say, I don't necessarily think that that particular membership was a scam. I think for the price that I was paying, the value was there, at least in the beginning, because again, it did teach me how to like set up a membership, how to build resources, how to launch it, that kind of thing. I just think that that experience really demonstrated to me how much of the industry as a whole is really just like copy exactly what I'm doing, even if it doesn't totally make sense for you, lie a little bit if you have to, and that's how you're going to be successful. And so that was when I really started to wake up to like what was happening in the industry in general, like who's telling the truth and who's lying to me just to close a sale. So that's October 2019. I continue on. I'm teaching yoga. I'm running this low-cost membership. I eventually actually lowered the price, I think after I broke up with her, to $35 a month. And again, I think I had at one point like 10 people in there. I was doing private yoga classes. All was good. We were having a good time. Then the pandemic comes. I can't teach in-person yoga classes anymore, which kind of sucks. So I start really leaning into this online membership. This would have been probably late March, early April 2020. And I come across a webinar from a coach that I have followed at this point since 2017. So 3 or 4 years. Keep in mind, this particular individual has a massive business. She has a podcast. She hosts an annual conference every year, which I had actually bought tickets for in 2020. I was planning to go to, I believe it was San Diego in person in 2020. Super excited. Obviously it got canceled because of COVID. So I had really like followed and idolized this particular woman, and her fiance are running a program called the Marketing School. They were only charging $97 a month, which again, I paid $4,500. Then I paid $97 a month, a steal. Basically, I believe it was weekly coaching calls with everyone that signed up. And it wasn't coaching calls so much as they would do a weekly presentation and then there would be hot seat coaching at the end. So I end up getting on the call. There are literally like 200 students on this call. Like, they must have made bank off of this program. We watched the presentation. It's great. I feel like I learned a few things, whatever. I'm feeling good. Presentation ends. I'm watching this coach's Instagram stories and I'm realizing that she is posting every single thing they covered in the webinar, the coaching call. She's posting on her Instagram stories for free. Like, so I think at that point they were teaching us, you know, knowing what you're skilled at, knowing what you're interested in, knowing what people want to spend their money on. And that was kind of like the premise of the lesson that they taught us. But then she's teaching that same lesson for free on her Instagram stories. So I'm kind of thinking like, oh, that's a little weird that she would just show everything to people that didn't pay, but whatever. Next week rolls around. I hop on the coaching call again. This week I actually got pulled into the hot seat. I don't know how it happened, but I was so excited because again, there's like 200 people and everyone's fighting for a spot to get specific coaching. And so I give them the context of my business. You know, I'm a yoga teacher. I have this online membership. Obviously I can't teach yoga classes. Like, what do I do? And I remember the fiance offering me the idea of hosting a 30-day yoga challenge where I would post a yoga video every single day. Because again, it's COVID, we're at home, we don't have anything better to do. Open the membership up to people to join this 30-day yoga challenge. And I think, wow, that's a great idea. And so again, I get off the call. They're posting every single thing that they talked about on the webinar on their Instagram stories for free. Again, kind of annoying. I end up following their advice. I host this 30-day yoga challenge. I end up getting like, I don't even remember. It was something crazy. I had 10 people in the membership. I went to like 60 people. 60 people signed up for this 30-day yoga challenge. I was like, I just made back my investment because again, I spent $97 to get into this program. Now I've made like close to $2,000 hosting this yoga challenge. For me, the return on investment was there. However, I'm still really off put that every single week they're posting what we learned in the webinar on their Instagram stories. So I end up canceling the membership because once you sit in the hot seat once, you don't get selected again. I think I'm never going to get any additional value. And if I want to know what they're teaching, I'll just watch this woman's Instagram stories and figure it out after every week for free. Side note, I think shortly after that, most people ended up leaving because about 3 months in, they canceled the whole membership. So that's how that went again. So with that experience, I would say I did get a direct ROI. I can monetarily say that I 10x'd my investment or 20x'd my investment. So that particular one, again, was worth it. I just thought it was kind of weird. Like, why are you putting a paywall up if you're just going to give everyone what you're teaching away for free? The only value I really received was from having that one-on-one opportunity to ask a question and have them give me their direct feedback. All that to say, that's kind of the progress of my coaching experience. So that would have been 2020. That would have been the last time that I ever paid a mentor to work with me in like any kind of coaching capacity. I myself at that time still had that membership. I continued actually to have that membership right up until I closed my yoga business, but I wasn't doing any active like one-on-one coaching, I would say. I think the last one-on-one coaching client I would have had would have been 2019 or probably 2020. And so in the entirety of my coaching career, I worked with a handful of clients. Usually it was through like Voxer coaching. People would pay me for like a 2-week voice access to me. So Voxer is like a walkie-talkie app, if you're not familiar. And we would just send voice notes back and forth to each other. And then I also had a handful of clients where I would create 2 weeks worth of like journal prompts. So I would give them journal prompts for a day. We would discuss those every day for 2 weeks or whatever. But yeah, I guess I only ever worked one-on-one with people through Voxer, the journal coaching, and then I had a couple clients where we did like a 6-week kind of intensive. But I would say that most of the coaching happened inside the membership because I would have like weekly or monthly live streams where people could like ask questions and stuff. All that to say, the main focus of my business was yoga. So once I did that 30-day challenge during COVID, I kind of continued that for a few months till lockdown opened up. And then I just started teaching like an insane amount of in-person yoga classes until I eventually burned out and closed my business and moved across the country and became a talking head on the internet. So I don't even know if this was interesting to anyone. This video will probably get like 100 views, but I hope you enjoyed. I hope that now you kind of understand my relationship with the coaching industry a little bit more. I think that through all of these experiences, this was really how I kind of came to see that a lot of people don't know what they're doing and they're just charging a ton of money to say, I did this thing, you can do it too. And it's really icky. And I will say also that I can speak about these now kind of cohesively, but especially that first relationship, I didn't really realize how little I got out of it until years later when I started to reflect on it. I think at the time I was obviously really disappointed. Again, I think that's why I was so upset. Like,
She didn't take me out for lunch like she said she was going to.
but I was really more disappointed in the fact that I didn't get any results. And so I would kind of like gaslight myself into being like, well, at least I'm so much more confident and my mindset's so good and I have this business and la da 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 da. So all that to say, if you are going to hire a mentor, I would advise you to be super, super careful with who you're giving your money to. Again, like I said, the last one that I paid $97 for, I did get a direct return on that investment. Was that actually like coaching per se? No, it was more like marketing consulting, but there is an opportunity, I think, as a business owner to make investments, particularly I think in like a membership model is usually pretty low risk and they're not all bad. It's just a matter of kind of figuring out like what support you actually need and not just falling for like shiny object syndrome. So I don't know. Let me know in the comments what you guys thought of my experience, if there was anything unexpected or anything new that you learned. I will be back tomorrow. We're going to be reacting to a news piece from the BBC, so stay tuned for that. Take care. Comb your hair, and I will link the entire playlist for the series up here on the screen. So, bye!